guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make 10 DIY school supplies. If you enjoy this video, please click that like button and comment down below with any future video suggestions you might have. If you're not already subscribed and would like to see more fun DIY videos, please click that subscribe button. The first DIY project will be a mini edible notebook. For this one, I'm going to use a mini bag of Skittles and just carefully open the bag. Once the bag is open, it should look like this. I will be using one of these mini boxes that matches come in. I placed the match box in the center of the Skittles label, and then I marked off on the sides, and then I cut it out. I glued the candy wrapper to the matchbox and I cut off the excess so it wrapped around perfectly. I'm going to use a piece of poster board or cardstock, and I traced around the matchbox and cut that out so I had two of the same size. I took the piece of cardstock, traced that onto some regular paper, and cut out a whole bunch of sheets to make my notebook. I gathered all the sheets of paper that I just cut out, placed one of the pieces of cardstock on the front, one on the back. I clipped those together, and then I used some Elmer's white glue and applied a generous amount on the top. Here is my notebook once it was bound together. I glued the notebook to the box, I added some Skittles, and that is how you make this edible mini notebook. The second DIY project will be mini candy pens. For this one, I'm going to use some mini Starburst. Just carefully open the package. I'm going to use a piece of styrofoam. I took one of the Starburst and I traced around it, and then I cut it out so I would have the exact size of the Starburst. I unwrapped each of the Starburst, and then I wrapped each of those around the pieces of styrofoam and glued them together. Since only one of the Starburst will actually be shown, if you only want to do it with one of the pieces of styrofoam, you can do that, or you can do both. This step is optional, but I wanted my package to be full, so I cut another piece of styrofoam the same size. I'm going to use the ink from one of these mini pens. If you don't have one, you can cut down an ink from a regular pen. I used a wooden skewer to start little pilot holes for each of the pieces of Starburst and the piece of styrofoam. I just put each of the pieces onto the ink. I wrapped the label around the Starburst pieces and glued it together. And that's all there is to these easy mini candy pens. The third DIY will be a mini candy highlighter. For this one, I'm going to use one of these mini highlighters. I found this in a pack, I believe it was 6 from Office Depot. And then I'm also going to use the recycled candy wrapper from a Twix bar. I just wrapped the Twix bar wrapper around the highlighter and glued it together. Next, I just felt where the cap was, and then with an X-Acto knife, I cut right on the line where the cap and the pen met. And that is how you make this easy Twix bar mini highlighter. The fourth DIY will be a Mentos highlighter, and this is good if you don't have a mini highlighter. What I did was I just carefully removed the label and the foil wrapper from a Mentos label, and I'm just going to use a regular highlighter. I wrapped the foil part of the wrapper around the highlighter, glued that down, and then I took the Mentos label and wrapped that around the foil part and glued those two pieces together. I felt around where the cap was just like I did on the Twix, and then with an X-Acto knife cut where that was. One end had a little extra of the Mentos label hanging over, so I just tucked that in. And that is how you make the Mentos highlighter. The fifth DIY candy idea will be a mini candy eraser. For this one, I'm just going to use one of these erasers. I will be using the wrapper from a mini Snickers bar. I wrapped the Snickers label around the eraser, and right where the eraser ends right there, I marked that off and then I cut it out. I applied glue to the paper part of the eraser, and then I wrapped the Snickers label around it. And that's all there is to these easy mini candy erasers. The sixth idea will be a candy bag paperclip holder. For this one, I'm going to use the bag from a mini M&Ms, and I just carefully opened just one side of the bag. Next, I'm going to use a Ziploc bag. What I did was I placed the M&Ms bag on top of it, and just where the two sides meet, where it's still glued together, I marked off on the Ziploc bag and then I cut it out. Used my hot glue gun to seal the little part on the bottom that was open. Next, I placed the Ziploc bag into the M&M wrapper, leaving a little bit of the Ziploc bag hanging out, and then I super glued the Ziploc bag to the M&M wrapper. Now you can add your paper clips or your binder clips to this M&M's bag and they won't fall out. The seventh DIY will be a mini bubblegum notebook. I'm going to use the wrapper from a Hubba Bubba bubblegum. I just measured how long the wrapper was. And then I cut out a piece of styrofoam that was that same size that will fit around the wrapper. Next, I just glued the wrapper in place. I'm going to use some regular paper. I traced around the bubble gum and then I cut out several sheets to make my notebook. I also cut out a pink piece of cardstock for the top. Clipped the piece of cardstock and notebook paper together and applied some white Elmer's glue to the top. Here is mine once the glue had dried. The next thing I did was I just glued that to the bubble gum. And that's how you make this mini notebook that looks like bubble gum. The eighth DIY is super easy. It's a mini Rolo's glue stick. For this one, just print out the printable and cut it down to size. There will be a link down below. Apply some glue to the printable and wrap it around the glue stick. Next, I will be using some gold duct tape. I just cut a strip out and then I cut enough to cover the top and the bottom. I wrapped the bigger piece of duct tape that I cut out around the top and tucked in the sides or the top, and then I did the same thing to the bottom. And that is how you make a mini Rolo's glue stick. The ninth DIY will be a bubblegum bookmark. I printed out both of these Hubba Bubba images. I will leave a link down below where you can print both of these out. I'm going to use some contact paper to laminate them. You can also use clear packaging tape. The next thing I did was I just cut both of those out. I'm going to use some pink ribbon, and I just cut off a piece that was big enough that I thought would work for a bookmark, and I made two the same size. Next, I glued the two pieces of ribbon together. I applied some glue to the top part of the ribbon and glued one of the Hubba Bubba labels to that. I flipped it over and glued the other label on top of that. And that's how you make the Hubba Bubba bookmark. The last DIY will be an edible Sweet Tarts pencil case. For this one, I'm going to use a cardboard tube from some gift wrap. I marked off at 6.5 inches on the cardboard tube and I cut that out. Next, I'm going to use these bead containers or lip balm containers. I found these ones at Walmart. You just want to find ones that will fit into the cardboard tube. I'm going to use some sterling silver acrylic paint and paint just the tops of the bead containers. Printed out the Sweet Tarts wrapper. The link will be down below. And then I cut it out, and I cut off the silver part. Here is what my wrapper looked like once it was cut out. Apply some glue to the Sweet Tarts printable and glue that to the cardboard tube. Once the tops to the containers were dry, I added some candy. Next, I pushed the containers into each end of the tube. Now you can enjoy your secret stash of candy along with having a pencil case. I hope you guys enjoyed all 10 of these DIY candy school supplies. I would love it if you gave this video a thumbs up. Leave me a comment, let me know which one was your favorite. Until next time, I hope you guys all have an amazing day.